Okay. I hope the earlier session with Johnson, right? It threw light some, or it did give some light on some of the modern challenges with the interaction design industry focuses on, right? In fact, my sincere request do have a look at his website, right? Because you get a lot of pointers. I hope it is johnnyvino.com or something. I think just search Johnny Vino on Google, you will possibly get his website. Right? I think today's talk was more focused on fluid design, I guess. Right? I didn't have the time to fully listen on. Right? But I think, if possible, we'll also share one of the earlier sessions he gave for my institute audience. Right? I think we do have a recorded version of it, right? And I'm sure he will not take objection to it. That was basically more focusing on more elementary issues in app design, right? So that I maybe I'll share that recording as well. Okay, right? Mercy, if I forget, you can upload that recording also, ma. I think
Okay, sir.
the talk he gave to our students, right?
Okay, sir.
Maybe the audience may benefit, right? No, no, don't increase our syllabus, sir. No, that's not my intent. Because I found that talk also quite what, novel for the way they were looking at app design and some of the basic life issues which help in app design. Okay, right? But I think today's concept was a bit more evolving, right, on the fluid design front. Good, right? So, what shall be the focus of my session, right? One of the landmark, or you can possibly call it as as you call the Newton's laws of physics, right? Gestalt's laws are very fundamental to design or design principles as they call. Okay, right? My exposure to Gestalt was in the context of this course, right? But I think the other designers in the or the other design audience in this workshop, right? Possibly they may have heard this word somewhere in their context or domain as well, right? Gestalt's laws, it was famously called as Gestalt's principles of visual design. Right? Primarily, it has a relationship on the visual design front, but we need not be restricting it to visual design only. Okay. Right? Uh, is my fan noise disturbing, Santosh?
No, sir.
Please increase your system volume. 1 minute, ma'am. Okay, now I hope it is better. Or is the fan noise causing the? It's really peak hot in some Chennai. I hope is a volume clear, madam. Now,
Sir, it is clear there is no disturbance.
yeah, yeah, thank you. To be seated on other. Okay, right. So this word Gestalt, right? So this is the focus of this session here. Okay, right? It should be more interesting. It looks like theory, right? But you will see some examples as well. Be rest assured, right? This word Gestalt, right, is actually a German word. In fact, to be very frank with you people, when I started out with this course, right, this is not available in any textbook material and all here, right? Okay, I have to put this. There is an excellent online organization called as Universal Design Foundation here. Okay, UDF. You just give the string in Google, you should land on their homepage. Okay, right. They do offer a lot of online courses. Some are paid, but at least some basic materials are available for free. Okay, right. So my exposure, I felt their discussion of Gestalts, all that stuff was great, right? So it was only looking at their examples, right, that the visual connection of it or visual design connection of it was even more profound. Okay, right. So this word time permitting or even parallel, if you want to search the website, you search, right? They do offer a lot of online courses here, right? So for the interaction design bent audience, in fact, Kenneth, Karthik and all, right? In fact, when we meet in a second year, I had suggested them to do this online courses, and all of them have had good inputs on the content there. The paid version, I mean, okay. Right? So this word Gestalt, which is a German word, its meaning actually, or the essence of it translates as a unified whole. Okay, maybe you can view it as an aggregation of things or viewing things at a larger perspective, the higher abstraction of it. Okay, right? And the postulates or the principles were actually formulated by a team of German psychologists. I don't want to take the risk of spelling out their names. I've never done anyone in my class. So you can read it for yourself. Okay, so Max, Kurt, and Kohler. Okay, right. So I think Kohler is a more famous German name. Okay, so it was basically a German, and the beauty about it basically came out from psychologists. Okay, right. It didn't come out from visual designers, right? But they have extensively used it in visual design, interaction design, all those places. Okay, right. That's what I said. This field is actually an amalgamation of several fields. It's not one domain's exclusive copyright and all, right? You name it, you will have that field contributing to interaction design. Okay, right? So you can view this postulates a set of laws that address or that universal design foundation. Now, okay, see, that is basically an institute. I think I don't know, they don't call it universal design. Yeah, I think where the confusion is coming from. Universal design, there is a Center for Universal Design Studies or something they call, okay, in US. Okay, so their page did contain good materials on universal design, right? Okay, sorry, excellent, Shilpa. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah. I think Balayogi has said it is called Interaction Design Foundation. This is the problem of an aging faculty. I'm sorry for that. Okay, right? Yeah, okay. Right? Okay, I hope anyway you are prepping us, help me in the other way. The institute which I meant, right, is actually called Interaction Design Foundation. I hope this is the website you can click and check, right? So they do offer a lot of online courses, right? Universal design is another branch of design or interactive design where we look at making it available for accessible for all, principle of equitable use, all that stuff. I think we do have one dedicated session for that. Okay, right? So maybe it is related there as well. That's what I said. The designers, they may find more relevance as well. Okay, so what are we interested in looking at now? Those around 8 laws or something which actually forces the human mind, the human eye, right, at a psychological level to view things in an implied fashion, in an inferential fashion. Okay, so this natural compulsion. Yeah, I understood now. Correct. When you apply this in universal design also, right, it may enhance the principle of equitable use, right, all that stuff. I understood. But in fact, your ping also helped me to correct it because I think I recall the institute name wrong. It is called as Interaction Design Foundation. Universal Design Institute, which is the other one I pinged, Center for Universal Design Studies in the US, where I found a lot of helpful material for. And I think my observation is this area at least, right? I'm not saying only Gestalt's, right? Most of the concepts in interaction design, textbooks are good. I'm not against textbooks, but you get more relevant, more recent materials online. Okay, right? The Jacob Nielsen website, Norman's web pages, right? And I think Sneederman also maintains some material. Okay, so my suggestion, the interaction. Balram Sharma, you are unmuted. Okay, good. So I think we have had enough of resource pointers, right? So the larger focus of Gestalt's principles is on the ability of the human mind, the ability of the human eye, right, at a cognitive level to pick up things at a larger perspective, looking out for aggregation, such features. Okay, and the mind is informed in a different way, or that's what I mean, an aggregated way based on what the eye picks up. Right? If you want a real-time analogy, right? A video, we see it as a video as a different form of multimedia compared to images. But I think when we started out learning multimedia and all, the essence of video is it is nothing but a series of images being played at some rates per second, okay, I don't know, frames per second, right? And the what is it called? The cognitive principle. I think it is referred as persistence of vision or something, right? So beyond the point, the human eye cannot notice the abrupt changes in the content which comes, right? So we pick up only key points in that frames which come, right? Where are you connecting this? Gestalt is an even more larger abstraction of this theory of persistence of vision. You can connect it to that as well, okay, right? And just out of curiosity, I put this question: I think these days you have multi-core architecture, 4 processors, 16 processors, 16 cores, all that stuff. But when we started out, I think most of us are senior audience, right? When we started out, we possibly were sitting only on a uniprocessor environment, right? But still, it gave us that feeling of it is doing more than one application at a time. Right? So are the people getting the question? Like these days, maybe you do have parallel processing possible because you have more than one processor available. So it is truly more than one process or one application running at a time. Okay, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. If I double click both may run on these days. Okay, simultaneously. I mean, but in the yesteryear computing setup where I had only one uniprocessor or only one processor, I hope people are getting the issue. Right? Let's say I have 100 apps possible. 100 applications which the user may be interested in and may even execute all 100 at the same time as far as he is concerned. Okay. But what is your take? In a uniprocessor environment, do all the 100 processes run simultaneously or how do they achieve it? I don't want an architecture answer. I just want a real life understanding answer. I hope the question is clear. You have only one underlying processor. You cannot execute more than one process at a time. We call it as a process in an OS perspective of what you call as an app. An app is nothing but a process for me. Okay. With only one processor underground, those days that's the way they managed. They could not run more than one process at the same time, right? But then it will be, what will be the limitation of that? Yeah, somebody can ping. Yeah, job scheduling can be done. But if the OS takes a call that at any point in time, I'll allow the user only to double click one application, that is limiting, right? That is you are passing your consent on the end user. Okay, so that is where they said, we will give this feeling of parallel processing for the end user, but internally, we will do what is called as, I don't know, you'll have to pardon me if I'm using OS terms. I'm OS faculty as well, right? So this is what they did. They did an interleaved execution of processes where the first app, maybe Microsoft Word, got some 5 seconds of processor time. Then some interleaving happened. The second process got the control. So this is the way, this is what I call as correct. Because they didn't have more than one processor, but they still wanted to simulate or mimic parallel processing because they didn't want to limit the user, okay, into believing that it's only one, okay. But what is actually underlying happening is because the user's eye, right, because we don't pick up too abrupt changes and all, okay. So when the processor is switching between 100 jobs, we don't notice that switch. We almost get a feeling that more than one thing is happening parallelly. I hope people are getting it, right? Why did I bring in this discussion? Things have existed even before they came in visual design. Okay, that's what I mean. Okay, the human eye, the human mind, right, picks up things at a much larger level as compared to very minute levels. Okay, we are capable of both. Right? I hope this example helped in connecting with Gestalt. Okay, right? Fine here, right? So the if you want a one-liner for Gestalt, the red color bold caption is the real one-liner here. Right? The whole is other than the sum of the parts. Right? In mathematics or in a logical argument, you may argue that if you add up all this, you get one whole view. It need not necessarily be so. Right? The way the human eye, the cognitive principles of the human beings, right, can slightly differ from your mathematical logic of saying sum of the parts is equal to the whole. That need not always be the case from a Gestalt's perspective. Okay, you'll shortly see it, right? Even though it is broken, you still see the larger picture. Okay, that's what we call it as the whole is other than the sum of the parts. Okay, or if you want it to be more realistic, you can view it as the whole is not just the sum of the parts, it's much more than that as well. The whole interpretation, the whole visualization, there is a larger perspective of things. Okay, that's what, right? So can I recognize some larger patterns by grouping similar elements, similar looking elements, right? So that's what Gestalt plays with. Okay, next slide. right? So this is the inherent human, the underlying principle is actually focusing on the ability of the human brain to process information in interesting fashion. Okay, it need not follow a mathematical trend, it need not follow a linear trend, right? That's what they say, right? Whatever be the, I think Ishan's talk yesterday, right? You can have any amount of AI coming in, but still that human touch to software, the human touch to design will always be paramount, right? Because it is still difficult to come up with. I think people were rightly pointing out in that discussion yesterday, right? Whatever amount of feelings that was incorporated into the robo, or what is it called? I am not a film buff, some the chitty robo or something, right? But eventually you still can't always mimic the human behavior, okay, right? I think we call it, this is the curse of having a faculty who's also interested in data sciences here, okay, right? Neural networks, adaptive learning, right? Whatever amount of learning you can have a system do, still human beings, right? The way they learn is different in different scenarios, right? They're trying their best to mimic it. They are calling it transfer learning. They are calling it, what is it called, reinforcement learning, right? I don't know how many. I think you should have heard this word, right? Reinforcement learning. I quickly give you an example, right? The best example for reinforcement learning is learning how to cycle, right? That cycling exercise is the best example we give for reinforcement learning, okay, right? You don't have this trial and error, right? The human body, right? Small kids, right? How much ever amount of holding you do, eventually, unless they, this is what we were told by the parents, right? They will fall, don't worry. Only when they fall, they will learn better, right? That's actually a very naive way of putting things. But if you look at the internal cognitive issues involved, right? The human brain, the human cognitive aspects, right? They adjust this fall, right? Their hip balancing, their hand, all that stuff, because the human brain, right? It trains itself into believing, or it learns that when I tilted it in this direction, I fell. That is what we call as a penalty. And when I did this, I didn't fall. That will be viewed as a, what is it called, as a reward in a reinforcement learning terminologies. Okay, right? These experiences actually reinforcement or reinforce your learning curve. Okay. So why are you giving all this? You can have any amount of A, all that stuff. Still, you can't. You can never say that 100% my ML system, my AI system. You will always have some subtlety in the way the human brain, the human response is always, okay, right? As a joke, I wish to share, I think most of it are ML projects in our college in BTech here, okay, right? And there are these days, what is a more fun to learning? Can somebody fill the dash? They've taken it too far here, really, right? Dash learning. You are not a data mining person, or you are not an ML person if you don't know dash learning these days. They have carried neural networks daily to mad extent. What do they call it? Machine learning is abstraction. Okay, I'm happy that you are deep. Who was that? Deep learning is nothing but neural networks for me, right? They have really carried it to mad extents. That deep learning itself has become a big subject. We don't approve of these things. Yes, it is good, agreed, but it is stretching it too far. Okay, deep learning is nothing but neural networks. That's it, right? Number of layers inside is deep. That's it. That's a larger essence, right? Now, why do you bring in this? Somewhere the BTech students, right? The projects they demonstrate. Somebody said I am achieving 100% accuracy, right? So then we got back, right? You can never have an ML model which unclaim, overfitting, strict assumptions. So that is where losing the human touch is. I think people have got the larger essence and trying to pitch, right? You should always be, that's what Ishan was also pitching at, that humaneness. You can never come up with a 100% accurate ML product or a software product. You can make it enjoyable, you can make it usable, all the theory is fine. I don't think the human mind can. I think she put on exactly the words which I kept in mind, but I possibly didn't spell it out the right fashion. Okay, right? That's what you, whatever you amount of training you do, still in that new scenario, how a child responds, how an adult responds, how you respond, God knows, okay, or God, that only the creator knows, okay, good. So this the larger focus of Gestalt session. Okay. In fact, I think this content I took it from that IDF page only. Okay, right. I think small kids play with such fascination of characters, right? Broken characters, right? All that stuff. When you see this sequence or when you see this image thrown at you first, right? Without the theories of integration, abstraction, and all, still the human eye or still your eye is only picking it up as a word called Gestalt, right? Even though the A is not completed, right? Even though there are breaks in G, there are breaks in S, right? And you look at the discontinuity in the sequence. Some are thickened characters. What I mean, G, S, and all are thick characters. E and E, T, they are all more of broken characters, right? Broken characters, I hope people understanding what I'm meaning, right? Lot of gaps in the formation. The view in totality, right? I think I can vouch or I can say with 100% confidence, even if somebody had not in, I think I should have done that. That's a mistake on my friend. Even without any of this introduction which you had so far, if you see this word, still you will only pick it up as Gestalt. Right? That's the capability of the human eye. What are we interested in? Some more specific principles, closure, proximity. I'll go slowly, don't worry. Right? And it doesn't make sense unless I connect it for a software setup, right? Or for a design perspective. So we will do that. Okay. I hope I'm not missing anything in this slide. Okay, right? So the viewer's subconscious characteristics. Santosh, 1 minute. Now I have this bad habit here, right? I see one slide, I get reminded of some example, right? It will not be a news reading from me, right? I hope people are not thinking about it, okay? But still, just to check whether I'm not leaving out any major content, right? So Gestalt's theory is largely grouped into 6 categories, right? And as Shilpa madam rightly put it, right? It is at largest subconscious trait of human beings to look at as groups, even though they are looking at separate objects on the screen, right? To perceive them. That's what we said. The whole is more important than the sum of the parts or the parts. Okay, next slide. What next? The specifics. Okay, right. The first law, as it is called, I think this ordering is not important. You can list it in any order. Closure, proximity in any order. The first law which we will see is what we call the law of closure or law of reification. Okay, I think this reification is coming in from. Because I used to teach a course called Formal Methods. There they do this reification principles. Okay, right? Closure. Okay. Where have you heard this word closure? For me, it comes in right group theory in mathematics. Right? I don't know how many of you recall +2 mathematics of abstract theory, the group theory we were taught. Okay, right? Mathematics. Most of the operations that you do on real numbers, floating, whatever be the domain of entity or operation, any operation that you do, the result should always be belonging to the universal set or the domain of interest. Okay, right? Or the result is supposed to be closed with respect to the operation on the domain of interest. Okay, so here how are they looking at it? I think yesterday's discussion in the evening, I said closure property, right? Where we connected closure property with respect to he comes in with the input objective of withdrawing money or with some objective of achieving something. Is that getting achieved or not? That's again nothing but getting closed, right? That's the biggest advantage we have. Yeah, that's what I very happy that people are giving importance to human being over the human computer brain. Okay, good, right? So the law of closure, right? It is the ability to look at or preferring complete shapes where the human eye, the human brain tends to automatically fill in some gaps that exist between the elements on display, right? So the eye is more interested in picking up a whole image, right? So these broken squares or broken circles or broken triangle, you will never see it as connected dashes. You will only always see it as a solid shape, right? Right? It's a solid triangle, it's a triangle, it's a circular, an oval or an ellipse, right? And it's a rectangle for me. Okay. So your eye starts filling up the gap. And what better example than the IBM logo, right? That's been there for a long time. And I was told actually by Kenneth, in fact, right? Gestalt's laws are played heavily with brand or by brand designers. Right? The brand designers, I think we have looked at IBM and all, but we have not looked at this property in depth, right? That's what I hope Professor Himanshu is highlighting, right? this inherent, some more characters we'll see, right? This is the simplest one to start with, so I started out with it. So this law of closure is the ability of the human eye to pick up things from a quicker, from an aggregated perspective and not look at individual broken bees, right? All that stuff. Okay. Next slide, Santosh. Sorry, the summer is bad. I'll come to the next law, right? Oh no, sorry, it makes no sense if you don't relate it with computer science or website design. We will do, right? We are so shortly going to see examples of them, right? The second law of common region, okay? Even without this, the left examples is from this IDF website here, okay? And the right examples are from random websites which I found it relevant, right? In the bottom image, right? Even without drawing any specific grouping and all, okay, right? That you tend to, the human eye, right, that slightly dark shaded region of the left image, okay, the human eye tends to pick up the wherever Santosh is pointing, that it is still a series of dots equi-spaced, right, but just that slight in what embossing or shading which you have done ensures that the human eye is picking it up as what? How many groups do you perceive in that image? That IDF image, how many groups do you perceive? The larger picture I'm asking. Excellent. Maybe if you want to know, we will start giving in very minute focus for the column gap and all, then you may see it as 12 groups and all, whatever it is. But the first pick is, these are 2 groups, okay, right? So where will this be helpful? If you play with your white space in a beautiful manner in visual design, in your website layouts and all, even without you having to draw grouping symbols and all, you can still achieve grouping effect. Okay, right? That is what I think. This is some rental web page here. Okay, I've forgotten the name of the website specifically, right? They don't draw any squares or any grouping symbols explicitly. Okay, but small spaces automatically will tend people to group it with nearby elements, whereas large, when I mean space, I think I'm specifically referring to white space. Okay, I've forgotten, I'm not able to recall it on the fly now. I think maybe Shilpa madam or somebody can maybe correct me or ping it. White space, there is actually a technical term given in the visual design industry, right? When something, I was about to type negative space. Negative was, I hope I'm recalling it well, okay. I think the beauty about design, visual design, is about how well do you play with your negative space. If you use it effectively, in some cases it can be used as an aggregator, and in some places it can also be used as a separator, right? Devi Lakshmi, your kids' photos on the icon. Request you to un or mute yourself. Fine. Right? I hope people have got the larger message, right? Devi Lakshmi, if you can mute your mic. Yeah, fine. You can also, correct. You can also emphasize if you bring in what non-visually disturbing elements. This is a non-visually disturbing, right? Slight embossing, right? I think Apple does it, plays it beautifully in their designs, right? Where they slightly emboss their icons, glossed view, right? All that stuff gives that. Very good morning, Devi Lakshmi. I know I cannot.
Sir, you're muted.
Sir, please unmute, sir.
Yeah. See, this is the human brain, right? I want her to mute, but because I'm not able to mute her forcefully. Yeah, I hope now I'm audible. No.
Yes, sir.
What was a cognitive issue? I wanted to mute that child's mic, okay, right? But because this setup was not allowing it, The subconscious behavior is go and click the mic as if assuming I'm muting her. Okay, maybe my TAs can do, they are the organizers. You tend to see psychiatry or psychology everywhere unless you see that you can't survive in this world. Okay, so this law of common region, what is the larger interest? You don't have to do much things to convey grouping or that's a natural reflex. Very much happening. Yeah, fine. Audio issues. No, I muted here. I wanted to mute her, but I muted it just subconsciously. I hope now my audio is coming in properly. Good, right? So law of common region is then, right? Subtle shadows, embossing, right, will convey the grouping much more quickly than you having to adopt some other grouping mechanism. That's, I think, my suggestion is if you play with white space or negative space beautifully in your design, can do wonders here. Okay, next slide. Law of proximity or emergence is nothing but some larger view is getting emerged out. Okay, I think that's their interpretation. Right? Law of proximity, right? The human eye, the human brain, right, has this ability to group closer together elements. This is somewhere in syncing with that white space issue which we're talking about, right? Separating from those farther apart. Okay, right? The famous Adidas logo, right? Both the examples are there, right? You pick it up as one overall entity only with the second setup, right? Because the gaps are small, and you see the smaller gap is forcing you to pick it up as one overall image or one overall content, right? And that the vertical bars, right, the black slanted bars, they look easy on the eye. They again look like one merged entity emerging as one only in the second one, right? That's what I mean by playing with white space properly, right? The same Adidas logo, there is no change in the sizes of the bars and all, okay? But still you see it as distorted collection, right? It's no longer Adidas for me per se, right? It is actually, even the bars lose their meaning, right? I think there is a larger Muller's law. People forgetting. There is one law on illusion here. Right? It may be the same lines. I don't know. I think some people can answer this question. Maybe the kids' visual perception, correct? Law of visual perception, right? Because I didn't prepare for it or plan for it. I'm getting recollected with that theory of visual perception or illusion principle when I see this, right? These vertical bars, right? When you look at it in that integrated second image, they tend to be not that different on the eye, right? Whereas if you look at it in that other one, right? Yeah, correct. This one looks like these are in fact different shaped bars compared to the other one, right? Second image. I hope people are picking the larger message I'm putting in, right? This is what we mean by don't do things just for the sake you are happy within the design. The way the human beings will connect, you will have to stick to that principles, right? This is an extreme separation, even slighter separation, right? How can you relate all this to a visual design? The menu elements, the icons which you throw on your visual design on your website, ensure that you're following the spacing properly, okay? I think it is called Miller's theory of illusion or something here, right? Where they are actually the line length will be the same only, okay? But if you one is a convex and the other is a concave projection, because of this illusion, right? One line appears to be lengthier than the other. I'm sorry that because I didn't plan it, right? I'm getting recollected in this bar discussion, okay? Have people got the larger message I'm pitching at, right? So that law of proximity, things that appear closer together, right? And I think that Unilever symbol or Unilever icon, right? Even though they are broken, even though there are, what is other larger interest in Unilever? It is not even similar symbols, right? That smaller ones that I'm meaning. One is a circle, one is a star, right? One is a long star, short star. You never look at the individuals. You only look at it as a U. Okay. I think that Devi Lakshmi Kid is going to now you drew a U and then populated the symbol there. That's not the way of looking at it, right? I think some website examples should come even for this proximity, similarity, and all. Okay. Have people understood law of? Yeah, it comes straight on. Your scholars know you well. This is what we mean by relating to the website here. Okay, right? The same website product one, edit, these can be your menu options here, okay, right? Look at the top image first, right? Which one will you say is a better way of pitching it at the user? Now, we cannot come to a definite conclusion, right? The second one, yeah, good. That's what I said. I put that disclaimer. The second one, you will necessarily pick it as some grouping is coming in. 3 categories, and are you getting it? The large white space between those elements is ensuring you pick it as 3 categories, right? Like people, administration, in your faculty page or academic pages. And I hope people are connecting with visual design, okay, website design. The second image, right? And within the 3 categories, the short spaces between product and edit, okay, they are ensuring that they are viewed as some subcategorization is also happening without explicit categorization, right? There are 3 overall categories, and within this, there are 2 more operations possible. Are people connecting my discussions, right? So the small space serves as a grouper, and the larger space serves as a separator. Okay, and the left one, somebody said it is also right, but the left one, the human eye is going to likely pick it up as one overall grouping of things. Okay, correct. So it's almost like a sentence, but if these are related to mouse icons or menu icons in your website, right, homepage, some options these come, right? I will prefer the second one if you want to convey, right? There is some difference between the home option, contact us option, we said should be there in websites, right? And in between there are some main tabs. The second design is much more good to convey the difference, but it depends on your requirement, okay, right? A similar example, I think one more I saw, right? The second image at the bottom, the second one, right? The short spacing and the large spacing is ensuring that you are actually treating this as Jack Smith and his address, right? Nobody needs to teach us, right? You will immediately see it as Jack Smith is from New York, Adam Jones is from Miami, okay? But that left-hand example is just one assorted collection, right? No, we will treat it as New York, which is for Jack Smith. I hope people are getting the larger message, right? So if you want some textual information on your websites to be group treated, reduce the spacing, not to that extent that one will merge over the other, right? At least this one is better. Jack Smith immediately followed by New York to give that conveyed feeling. Okay. Good. I hope people are people connecting with the visual. That's more important. Psychology is, yes, it is important. Cognitive is important, but you should also connect it parallelly with the visual design or website layout design point of view. Okay. I think we are done with 2 laws. Next slide. I don't know why they call it as common fate. Okay. Fate is almost a negative word in the psychological sense. Fine. It's called as a law of common fate, right? Things that appear to be moving, right, in some direction, right, in one direction, right? The human eye or the human brain, the eye conveys to the human brain to pick it up in one fashion, right? This is grouping in motion. So far, you are possibly looking at grouping at a spatial level, right? This is a temporal characteristic or the time characteristic coming into play. Things that tend to move in one direction, okay, right? These are maybe around what? 3, 4, 5, 6, some 7 aeroplanes. You can look at it as 7 aeroplanes, right? Maybe the top ones are slightly moving at a slightly more elevated orientation than the bottom one. All those differences are there. Those are the parts information. But still, because they tend to move in one direction, the human eye picks it up as, I think the larger V is important for us, right? It is moving in a pointed V direction, okay? That in fact, that tip of the flock of birds flying together. Okay, beautiful example here. Okay, right? That's the beauty about the human eye, right? I see it as an aeroplane, the other side see it as a bird. Good, right? And who was excellent, right? I think this is an Apple design. Okay, right? I don't know. I'm not a Mac user, but this is what Kenneth told me. Okay, right? Apple is good for design, agreed, but I don't approve of their costing principles. Okay, just because you make it costly, that doesn't become a good design. But I think it is a reverse way with Apple. Just because the design is good, they keep the cost high. Okay, right? Apple, most of the icons that they design, some of the animations that they create, right? They tend to exploit this principle of common fit, right? It quickly moves apart, right? to give that feeling that it is all happening in one group direction. Okay, right? I don't know how many of you are Mac users, right? It may not be a Gestalt issue, but because I'm talking about Mac, right? And if people are, I think they don't call it the taskbar, right? They call the docking bar the dock bar. Okay. I think I picked up this example from some textbook for mental model. Okay, right? This is actually a case of violation. Okay. If anybody have used the Apple system or the Mac machines, right, where you have this dock bar concept, and there is some animation beauty that they have, right? This dock bar keeps dock bar is nothing but the task bar here, what we call in the Windows. Right? List of all apps running, right? They are all bottom available, and the beauty about it in Apple machines, right? Can somebody ping if you have observed or interacted with the Mac machine? You can connect it to the right example. This dot bar is moving here actually. Okay, right? So as you come down, it moves to your left. As you come, move your mouse, right? It is quite dynamic. Okay. No, but there was an equal problem faced by users in the initial days of Apple. Okay, or Apple Mac. Okay. What was the problem? We are used to deleting files. They are used to dragging it and dropping it into the dash bin here. What is that? The recycle bin, right? You want to delete something, we are used to dragging it and dropping it to the recycle bin, okay? But the problem with the Mac machine initial users faced was they wanted to delete it, but this trash bin also kept moving, okay? So it was almost a sort of a mini treasure hunt, okay? I generally will not be that harsh on Apple, but that was actually an issue with their dock bar, and why is this issue highlighted, right? I don't know whether I told this. This is another adage here, or a famous saying. Designs generally don't get better over the years, but it is humans who actually get the better of the designs they are forced on. Okay. What was a shortcut people adopted for? Are people clear with the issue I'm talking about? The dock bar keeps moving. The recycle bin is on the dock bar. As I want to drop a file there, it keeps moving. Okay. Then people found out a shortcut. Okay. If this movement is from left to right direction only. Okay. Then they found out that if I move the mouse from the right to left, right, then the dock bar is static, right? Then I'm able to delete the file better. Okay. These are examples I give for highlighting the fact. So Apple also has failed in the designs initially, okay, at least some places, right? So designs generally don't get better always. It is actually human beings who get the better of it. And is there any example you can give me for the Windows 8 shutdown issue? They later made it better. 8.1, how was it different from Windows 8? The shutdown became more visible. Yeah, that's it. For that, they had a version coming out. But the technically savvy audience, how did we shut down Windows 8? I don't approve the EB way of switch off the power. That is not approved. Windows 8 is a question clear. How do you shut down without going through all this painful interface clicks and all? I don't know how many of you are aware of the technical or what we call keyboard shortcuts. From that, I have not used. That's fine, sir. No issues, sir. Right? Alt F4 is the eventual option you will use, but if you press Alt E symbol is take you to the Explorer or the desktop. When you press Alt E, it will be the normal old version of Windows that comes. Old version, matlab the display. Okay. There your start icon will be visible, or from there you keep pressing Alt F4. Okay. 2 times, 3 times Alt F4, it will shut down. Okay. Now why am I highlighting this? These are situations where humans are getting the better of the design. Okay. So I think at least we should be essence of it as conscious designers, as designers who are interested in designing good interactive products. Don't do things just for the sake or the fashion of it. Okay, this was not a good thing, right? If you keep moving, right, so what is required to be moving is also important, not a dock bar, which ideally is better to be static. Okay, good. Next slide. Law of symmetry. I think this is, I'm not a app person and all. This is a foodie, the Starbucks, I hope it is, and the other one is the McDonald's symbol logo. Okay, right? Law of symmetry of Gestalt, what does it say? The human eye, internally kicked off with the brain, naturally looks to find or search for some symmetry among aesthetic. That is where aesthetics comes to play, right? Aesthetically pleasing things, you will pick up symmetry, right? Even though this is not the typical M in English, right? It looks like a complete lady, right? There is some symmetry coming in the Starbucks logo, right? Symmetry along the y-axis, symmetry along the x-axis, whichever way you want to put it, right? These are great examples of how symmetry gets applied in design, right? Symmetry is again nothing but some amount of uniformity that you pick or abstraction you pick up, okay, right? No, give us some examples from a visual design perspective. It is my website, so 4 buttons I will have, okay? Home, product, the eye has gone old here, okay? Whatever it is, contacts and clients, whatever it is, both screens, they are the same buttons and same logos, right? Ensure that they are properly aligned, and if you put a separation, nice. Earlier one, correct, right? There is some small black color separation coming in. The second one is a more symmetrically friendly design on the eye. They will pick it up as overall 4 categories and internally 2 more subcategories. Yes or no? That's the way we see it, right? The left one seems to be more related, home and product, clients and contacts. Yes or no? The clients and contacts, right? They are less important information as. Now, I'm not saying client is not important here, okay, right? Home and for a website, about me, about the product is much more important first, right? So I hope people are getting, you are conveying 2-3 different informations with just playing with symmetry. White space, you played it properly, right? And then because you symmetrize it, the human eye also gives more importance, yes or no. I think what you call properly aligned, left, right, top, bottom, everything. Okay, correct. Asymmetricity you can play with, but as long as it is to highlight or emphasize. Okay. Can we move on? I hope people are not treating it as a pure cognitive or a psychology discussion. Okay, right? Now, I'm not against psychology because some people should not feel disconnected that you're not relating it to the websites, okay, or websites or visual element. Okay. I'm sorry if the images are small, but I hope they're conveying the essence. Okay. Right? See, why am I highlighting again and again? You should appreciate the subtle difference between law of continuity or proximity and all. That was about playing with white space. Okay. Yes, it is all still the same amount of spaces. My scholars are really helpful here. Okay. But where is that element of that grouping of importance that I was talking about coming in? What is that lightning logo or lightning symbol that you have? Okay, that arrow mark or shaded icon that you have, because that is properly and symmetrically placed, that is what is ensuring a larger grouping to come. No, we can increase the spacing. Yes, you can, but symmetricity conveys sense of balance as well. I don't think I can. I think the best example we can give for all these features is Google design here, the Google logo itself, right? You go and read, there has been, it is not just about the colors, right? They are what enjoyable company, right? All that stuff, that is where the multicolor comes, right? But there, I think you will see proper symmetry in it will be right, exactly centered at the bottom of your browser, right? The balance, the strength, the unity factor, these are all cognitive terms, okay? I don't want to bring in too many things, right? Possible, I'll bring that slide. I don't have it now. See, okay, I think we do have a discussion on that. Okay, I think it is called as strength, unity, proximity, and all. Okay, good. Next slide, Santosh. Google design. I meant the essence behind Google's logo design itself. Right? There are a lot of cognitive principles behind that as well. Okay, fine here, right? No, you are deviating. Law of Gestalt is important. Good, right? A law of similarity as it is put, okay, right? Elements that have similar visual appearance, right? Visually, they tend to look like one. Again, the brain picks them as belonging to one group, as to one category, okay, right? In the bottom image, without the color, right, you possibly will only pick it up because there is no element of space separation and all. You will possibly pick it up as one overall group, right? But just that subtle color difference comes in. Are you people appreciating? Right? There is no embossing, there is no shading. Beautiful, right? For us, the what is the color? Yeah, blue color or sky blue color. Those 3 rows for us, we will pick it up as belonging to one type of operation, one type of menu items, right? All that stuff. Whereas the outer dark circles, right? They will be grouped as belonging to different one. Maybe if you want, you can even have the first one is radically different. The second one is again a different blue color group. The next 2 are related. That's all fine. That's all fine interpretation. That's upon how you play with space there. Okay, that's where your white space will come to help. Okay. I think I am playing with the color again in the second example, right? It's the same example which we saw earlier. Okay, name and address or name and location. But because you bring in the color element, the highlight element, the color gives some priority to, see, among name, address, everything else, right? The name of the person is much more important than everything else, right? And I don't know, that's the way I see it visually, right? This coloring helps me even better to connect New York with Jack Smith. Who was that? Yeah, clustering, excellent. Grouping, clustering is a data clustering where I connect data clustering, right? That's what. Slide playing with colors, slides playing with white space, slide play with symmetric as a property. They will help you to convey lot of groups. Draw 6 groups, give a message, says the software, that nothing is required. Are people clear so far? Now, why am I spending time so much on each slide?
Can I please see the last slide once for a second?
Yeah, sure, Shilpa. You meant this slide, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I know. I think the essence of symmetry is in this slide. You'll have to focus on that placing of that black color small symbol. Okay, I call it lighting symbol, right? The way you position it and the place you position it ensures the balance of the design or not. Otherwise, if you just look at the spacing, right, that will be relating to some of the earlier properties which we talked, right? Law of proximity or something which I call. Okay, good. Next slide. Can we move on? Shubhangi, right? Can we move on? Ranjana Rajneesh. Good. I hope people are clear with law of similarity, right? Slight difference in colors, slight difference in spacing, right? If you play with them aptly as a designer, you can convey this 5 groups information, 6 groups information, right? That much more better. See, the way I see it, in the textual display, the second image, right? The name and the location mapping, right? That was happening even without the color agreed, right? But what is that? Jack Smith, right? I think the issue will be more profound if you have much more content, okay? Right? The clustering into groups of size 2 is much more profound in the colored version as opposed to the no color at all. I know you can still pick it up as 3, but I think you see this as 2 more profoundly groups of size 2 than a group of size 3 in the other one. Are people understanding the importance of color in this? That is what I'm harping on. Harping is a negative word. Fine here, right? Don't make a school kids. Fine. Next. Yeah, the law of figure on ground. Okay, right? I think we play with all this in logo design, right? Students are excellent in creating this. Okay. I think the bottom logo, which you look at it, right? I think it is some NGO or a non-governmental child initiative. Okay, right? I think the eye picks up one symbol that you pick up is Africa. That's what, playing with the foreground and negative space, and then you pick up the man and the woman, or the 2 figures, woman and the child. Okay. Right? The law of figure on ground, right? Users differentiate between the figure or the object, right? That is the figure, part of the law, and its surrounding area, which is referred as a ground. Right? That's what I think we refer as negative space. Okay. And that helps me in interpreting things in an abstracted way or in a summarized fashion. Okay. Right? I think you people have got the essence of this African logo. Okay. Right? we'll go back. I think there should be some example which will use this theory for a website. Next slide, Santosh. Yeah. Good. I was worried whether I'm having it or not. Right. Please wait. Okay, Santosh, earlier slide. I think they want to know. Yeah, sorry, madam. I thought I would. Right. I think, see, this slide, the essence is about that pure cognitive perspective, right? Where if you properly play with the figure and the ground, figure is object for me, ground is a negative space for me. I can, right, convey both grouping as well as differentiation, right? See, the Gestalt's way of looking at this logo, don't look at the parts, look at it as a whole, then the Africa is important. Okay. But the parts is also getting conveyed, right? Because of a prominent ground, right? That the foreground is also conveying it in an equally emphasized fashion, right? There is a woman and a man, or two human beings involved, or a child also there, right? Can I move on to the next slide? Because I know that is a CS bias. I'm sorry for it. No issues. Santosh, next slide. Because people connect it with the requirement. Otherwise, what happens is, I'm not saying it will happen with this audience. The computer science audience where we teach this course, right? It's a core course for my computer science students. Okay. There they are hell bent on looking for, can you connect it immediately with the website design for me? Okay. That is where the search comes. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Right. I think Apple plays it in their designs very much. Right. Other examples as well. Okay. The bottom key one. Okay. You do have some background information as well available. Okay. The background part, right? But then nothing of that is lost. Okay. I think this is a housing website where they wanted to convey some amount of security and all. Okay. So that subtle overlay, right, is ensuring. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Hello, madam. Do you have a question or? Okay, Shilpa is unmuted. Okay. I hope people are getting larger importance of law of figure on ground. Okay, right? So that slide, that's what I'm saying. That semi-transparent overlay, shadows playing. Shadows is in that second example here. Okay. And that overlay even comes in your first, Santosh, if you can point at the first image. First image from top down. Right? One rectangle is overlaid over another rectangle, right? I think that's more on a layout perspective. Okay. These things help notice aspect on the user front, right? So I think I think this is an Apple design, or if I'm picking it up some other app, right? That slightly glossant view, right? That gives me the fact that these are possibly some frequently used icons by the user, right? Immediately enableable, right? Important options, right? Whatever be your requirement to convey. If you play with your figure and ground properly, you can convey, right? The other features also on the. Yeah, correct. I think they're using the precise design terms much better than correct. Yeah, the depth factor, that's what I call it as a Z-axis, right? That depth to create that emphasize or differentiation aspect without losing the ground content aspect. Okay. Good. Are people comfortable so far? I hope I am doing justice in connecting Gestalt with some visual layout principles. Fine. Next. Yeah, iOS, that's what I said, Apple. And I think the larger problem, I don't know whether people are facing this an issue. I have this bad habit of not reading out from slides here, okay? Right? So when I see something, right, I get recollected what I have in mind, I talk, and eventually, finally, it converges with the content there, okay? Then I will check whether I have missed out something. And that's the habit built over. And I should be frank enough in admitting I am the least powerful PowerPoint person here, right? I'm still more comfortable on the board, okay. But HCA, there is no other go but to go for Power. That's why my students' PowerPoints will be much HCA friendly than my PowerPoints. So forgive me for that. I'm sort of still chalk and talk faculty, or that inclination is there. No, that's not true. Just to share with people frankly, when this online mode started 1.5 years, I tried my to the limits to hit a board in the house. All options we tried so that I can still ensure it is a chalk and talk mechanism. Everything was working fine, but the camera positioning and all was causing issues in shaking video. I was forcing my child to do, nothing worked out. So eventually I fell to this PPT.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Saurav Sharma, yeah.
Sorry, sir, I am interrupting you. I just wanted to understand the figure and ground. When you are talking about figure and ground, it is also about multi-stability, right? That how eyes are moving, right? Or
Correct.
it is
Yeah,
just
you can complete your question fully. Yeah, Santosh, go to that slide. You can complete your question, sir, Saurav. Saurav Sharma, you can complete your question because I think.
no. I just wanted to understand it is only about the negative or positive space, or it is a multi-stability in terms of figure. For example, a cube where we can see a cube which can be viewed in a different kind of position with different kind of faces
Correct. Spot
altogether.
on, you are. I think the people are using the right words. The stability is what Shilpa madam was referring as depth. It is much more beyond negative spaces, sir. Okay, you are right. It will maybe in a queuing factor, right? Maybe the people who will be allowed in the next 2-3 seconds will be in a slightly elevated fashion, right? You are about to get the setup, right? So I think it conveys that multi-stability fashion, the depth factor, because otherwise I can play still with the earlier negative space itself. You are right. What on?
So can I add something?
Yeah, sure, madam.
I think it is to do with anything and every element. Either it could be a contrast, it could be depth, it could be a perspective, it could be negative, positive. Any element which basically differentiates between the different elements in a particular given space.
Correct. As a sense of a highlight, as a sense of, and the context, right? Because I think that I really like that example of queuing brought in by Saurav, right? In the context of queuing, right? If you want to convey some, you will have the access immediately or not, right? The queuing time without saying 5 seconds, 10 seconds explicitly or not, right? You can still play with it, right? So it's a way you use it. Excellent, yeah. Good. Next slide, Santosh.
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you. I should thank you. This is an addition for me in the. I'll offer this course again from July. Some of the students are sitting here to assist as volunteers. Good. I think I'm almost nearing the law of continuity. Okay, right? Yes, these are looking as. See, if normally you tend to pick it up as these are actually two different lines intersecting, right? You tend to see them as a line flowing together, but then because of, right, the color factor that is coming in, the eye is actually picking up it up. That is where the continuity aspect comes to help, right? Perception tends to see objects arranged in lines or curves as flowing into the end or flowing towards the end. Okay. And I think you will possibly see this as two larger groups, right? And one coming from the left, the other coming from the right. I think there should be some example of website also. Next step. Yeah, correct. Right? See that subtle element of this is for law of continuity. Yeah, this example of visual or website design, right? The right hand symbol, right? It's still the same thing, home, product, and contacts. But the way you have visually laid it out, all coming under the second one, I mean, yeah. There you tend to pick it as one continuous group. Correct, flow of the eye. Correct, eye flow, whatever is the specific design terminology. Okay, right? And among that, you wanted to highlight home, so you did it with white color, agreed, right? Are people getting larger emphasis of continuity? It is the same text symbols, but the moment I draw small boxes, right, like this, the left one I'm talking about now, right? That will never be seen. It is one overall group, agreed, if you are using white space, but this one will be treated as possibly 3 different options. Okay, one question. Anything that is put on a rectangular option in a website, what does your eye pick it up as? any text which comes within a rectangular option in a website layout, what a group, and for a dialogue-based audience, if you, I think this one is not that dark and rectangle. If you make it a more thicker rectangle and all, most of the users, right, whatever text comes or captions within thick rectangles, or sort of the OK button typically, okay, right? So this is the other suggestion they give. When you, this is again a mental model here. Over the years, we have built it up that some text label, if it comes within a rectangle like this, but it is not that dark, right? So I will not see it as a button here. But if it's slightly more darker, users may pick it up as buttons. They're closer, submit, right? They will click, right? So that is why, because it is your website, this is not the Gestalt theory I'm talking directly, the mental model, okay? Do not draw rectangles. Just, I think, again, students have this habit, right? Most important part of the answer, draw a rectangle and underline it. That's the worst option to have in a visual design for us as designers, right? Most rectangles are deemed as buttons for us, okay? Have people got the larger message of continuity in this example? The right one is a continuous flowing one for me, right? These are all belonging to the same website. These are the quick options available, home, product, contact, right? Whereas the left one, I think the color is helping me to differentiate, right? And the spaces, you will possibly see them as yes or no, right? Yeah, visually smoother. The second one, the better continuous one, the better smoother one, I still get the picture of 3 subgroups, but still connected as one overall website. That's in the mind in the second example, then in the first example. Sir, you are talking too much basic issues. I don't, because that's the importance of cognitive issues. I hope people are visually appreciating both examples. Continuity. Okay, good. Okay, right. I don't. You really have stretched it too far. I'll shortly wind up here for lunch. Okay. Next slide. If we can move to the next slide, I think we are almost done. That's it, Santosh. Is
Yes,
Gestalt's
sir.
done? Okay, right. So I think these are the core set of Gestalt's laws. I am sorry whether I can open quick because I'm not able to locate that slide where I talked about Google's logo here. Okay. I don't know if possible I'll bring that in or I'll share that with you. Right. You also look at it. There are some more factors like unity, balance, strength. These are not Gestalt's principles, but these are also principles in visual design. Okay, and Google scores very well on all these terms: unity, balance, strength. I don't want to trouble my scholars in asking them to locate that slide. It is there in my course slides. I'll locate it and send it. Okay, I'll ask Mercy to share. Okay, you can have a look at, because I think that theory. I see Google's logo has become really famous. We were thinking only because of white space. No, there are a lot of properties like unity, balance, strength, all that stuff, right? One more aspect I'll highlight, but I may not be able to talk at depth and all. I'll pass on that unity slide surely, definitely. Right? Something I had in mind here. We're done with Gestalt's, okay, right? So people, if you are wanting to instruct your house people to ready the lunch, you can instruct. One more important theory in cognitive design here. I may not get the time to talk on it. It is called as laws of persuasion. Okay, right? Persuasion. We call that. There's a famous person here. I'll find out and email you people. Persuasion is a famous theory in psychology, right? Brand managers, right? They all look at it, right? I think it is called as. I think they may even call it as persuasive design principles. Pervasive is different. Pervasive is on the computer. Persuasive, okay. Persuading. It comes from that meaning of word of persuading, right? Amazon, Flipkart, and all. Okay, I'm done with Gestalt's there. I'm quickly winding up, right? But I just want to give more pointers so that the searching curve is there. Okay, right? Amazon, Flipkart, and all. I don't know how many of you. This is the joke I share in my data science class. Amazon, when it started out, it sold only dash. These days they sell everything on earth. Okay, excellent. Their books, right? I was very happy with them, right? People who bought C and C++, they also buy Java. Right? All these recommendations we saw. Then we started. Those were all nothing but data mining techniques, or what is called these days as recommended systems. Okay, right? Recommended systems is more of an ML word, data mining word, data science word. But all this existed long, long ages ago in psychology as the theory of persuasion. How do I persuade my user to stay on the website? How do I persuade the user to buy the product? How do I persuade the user to trust the product? Right? That's an excellent. I think I have forgotten that author is. I know I don't refer to him frequently. Yeah. Who was it? Yes, Santosh. Thank you. Yeah. Robert Cialdini. I hope the first name I'm recalling right. There is a textbook by him. There is a video by him online, free video on persuasion psychology. Okay, right? Authority or some specific principles they have. Okay, right? Go refer them. Right? Because the modern day they call it as recommender systems, association rule. These are all data science terms here. You can forget them blindly. There are strong principles in psychology which can make users to trust your product quickly, right? Believe your product. How do people do? One example I'm quickly getting recollected, right? The brand logos and the ambassadors they choose, right? I don't know, some Emirates or some website they used to have Messi's logo and all, or famous people in their logo. Okay, right? Trusted people, that is to convey some sense of trust in your product. Okay, right? And a sense of urgency to create. How is that done here in these days websites? Sense of urgency. The stocks last for only 2 days, right? Some messages we get on SMS, right? Stocks are likely to get things going out of stocks, right? It need not be text one and all. It's quick visual display there, which gives a sense of, I think, hotels and the travel booking industry play with these things. Okay, right? These are things which will. Now I've talked things very quickly. Okay, right? Because persuasion was not my focus, but because I had some time available, courtesy the earliest slot, right? I will share my slides. I will surely give all the 40 slides or 45 slides. The bestseller tag. But I don't know. I don't have any negatives. These days, every news channel claims they are number one. I don't know how it is happening. Right? So the bestseller tag has lost its impact. Okay, right? That's what you should be smart enough. The rating system is fixed. Right? Everyone says we are number one in some aspect, okay, but they don't say the aspect. They just say we are number one, okay. Right? So something, a sense of urgency, a sense of highlight specific to your domain, that will create. Rigged. So these are, I think my scholar has helped out here. Reciprocity, scarcity. Scarcity is what I call urgency, okay. Reciprocity is. There are some websites, right, like the typical Aadhaar websites and all. Ask 1,000 information from the user. Don't give anything to him. Okay. The best thing the user will do is hit the close button. If you expect some content to come from the user, give him something before expecting something from him. Be reciprocal in your design, right? Give him some free newsletter, right? Give him some free. I think that's what. I don't know. I saw this yesterday news article. Indonesia, just to encourage people to get vaccinated, they are giving them live chickens. It seems okay. I'm not saying it's a good final choice, but at least they are reciprocal, right? You at least come to vaccination, we will reciprocate, right? Good, yes, right. I've not talked everything on that. That's what I said. I won't do it now. But if you people want, I will. Russia is offering full holiday. Okay, that may look an odd one, right? Because these days, all days are holidays for us, right? For Sputnik. Okay, good. But I like that chicken. No, I'm a veg person, but I like the chicken theory. Maybe it is customized to their audience, right? The chicken should be the vegetable there. Okay, right? Excellent examples look from life. Okay, right? Excellent. So I'm done for the day. You can break. I'll ask my scholar, right? Mercy, it will take time, but all my course slides, right? You can convert them to PDFs or if you already have them as PDFs, you can share it with this audience.
Okay.
I am not saying I will ask everything in the exam and all, or exam or assessment, right? Because I am, see, I used to teach this course 45 hours, so when I'm doing it for 5 hours, it should be, things will come out of content, okay? So I will share all 40 slides. People who want to use it in your course, you are free to use. No credits, no, nothing required, right? But don't be terrified that all these 40 PPTs also we have to study for the assessment, okay? Assessment will be based on what I have dealt with in depth, okay? Yeah, you can stop recording. My scholars are politically correct also, okay?